let's keep it in the Big 12 and talk about Bedlam, Dan. The last ever Bedlam.
The last on the schedule. We'll see.
On the schedule. Yeah. Can't say anything for sure, but at least in the immediate future, not going to have any more of them. Oklahoma State wins 27-24 over their hated rival, the Oklahoma Sooners. Can you indulge me for a second?
This is, of course.
I got to eat some crow. I have to. I have to, right?
Yeah.
I have to. I want to eat some crow. I have been in this love-hate thing now with Oklahoma State for well over a year. I hated them before I loved them. I loved them about 3 weeks ago when they beat K-State after their bye week. I was convinced as all hell coming into this game that Oklahoma was the better team. And I'll be honest, this was probably the best I've seen Oklahoma State look all year. I don't know if it's a function of Oklahoma's defense making them look better or if they are legitimately just getting better. But they looked like a fully formed offense in this game. Alan Bowman was sharp. Ollie Gordon, Heisman caliber. Rashad Owens had 17 targets out wide. More importantly, their defense got 3 turnovers in a close game, which I think was ultimately the difference. They rose to the moment in a big rivalry game. They get the win to close out temporarily, perhaps, the Bedlam series. And I just kind of want to apologize. I don't know. I feel very guilty about how negative I was about Oklahoma State at the start of the year. I think I had good reason to feel that way. But obviously, the way they have turned things on the last month or so of the season, it has been a great turnaround story. There's no two ways about it. And now, again, we keep talking about the Big 12 being wide open. Oklahoma State's right there. They're right there.
Sure.
They're right there. So good on them. This is a really, really big win at home.
Yeah, I don't have anything all that insightful to add. I generally don't, but the big deal is that Oklahoma had an opportunity in this one. At the end of the game, even with the turnover disadvantage, that as well as the Pokes played and spreading the ball, you mentioned Rashad Owens, Brennan Presley also made a ton of plays.
Yeah.
Ollie Gordon is no surprise anymore. He came into this game with like 1,100 yards, but Alan Bowman stayed clean, which I thought was super important with how opportunistic this OU defense has been. And for Oklahoma State, even with a bunch of drives that went nowhere in the second half, to hold on to this game, to get the stop, to keep the Oklahoma offense in front of them, huge deal. At home, this is what, Gundy's fourth win against Oklahoma, something like that, and to close out, this long-standing rivalry with, no matchup on the horizon. It's a huge deal for Oklahoma State, and yeah, you're absolutely right. Big 12, Oklahoma State, wide open, and should be, November is going to be incredible. I can't wait.
It's going to be wild. By the way, you mentioned Oklahoma's chance at the end of that game. Kind of a controversial call, non-call.
Yeah.
I feel like there was pass interference pretty blatantly committed on Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Down the stretch that was not called. There were a bunch of weird calls.
It was a weird day in general.
College football week 10. Yeah. A bunch of very strange calls that we will get to, I promise, as we go through this episode. But, it goes in the favor of Oklahoma State. Oklahoma ends up kicking a field goal instead of collecting 6. And perhaps that's the difference. Of course, you never know for sure. To further the point, though, Oklahoma State's got a road game at UCF next week, then a road game at Houston, then they come back home against BYU to close out the season. You're not going to do much better than that in the Big 12. We're going to talk about all these schedules in due time as we go through the next 3 weeks of the season on our preview episodes, but you're not going to find a much easier schedule for a good team than UCF, Houston, and BYU.
Take it.
Take it while you can. So this version of Oklahoma State, the one we saw, I'm still kind of like a little tentative to go all in on the Pokes. I was the last couple weeks. I wasn't this week. If they keep playing like this, I'm going to have no choice. But this version that we saw today, win the Bedlam game, goes 10-2. They go 10-2. They win the rest of their games. They go 10-2. They play for the Big 12.
It's unbelievable. And so Oklahoma State now has obviously the tiebreaker against Oklahoma, and they've beaten Kansas. They don't play Texas this year.
Beat K-State.
They beat K-State. And so the team's floating around. They beat West Virginia. Iowa State they lost to, but Iowa State lost tonight. So they're in an unbelievable position in terms of tiebreakers to, unless something horrendous happens, to be in the mix to go to North Texas.